So here is our fifth and final video tutorial on the Dataton System 3000. And what I want to focus on now is this quad universal filter, again loaned to us by Daniel Araya. And the patch is fairly simple. Remember, we're taking advantage of two different things. We're taking advantage of this AB bus, which moves audio kind of sideways and moves power through the system. And also the channel buses, channels 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so these have some very specific functions going on here. The quad filter, as the name indicates, contains 4 filters, and I'm just feeding the filter bank, the fourth channel of the filter bank, with noise from the noise generator. So here's what that sounds like when we pull it up. Right now, I've got this set to a band pass filter. So as we sweep the frequency, Q stands for resonance. That's how much of the output of the filter is injected back into the input of the filter, and that tends to give it this very characteristic sweep sort of sound that you hear there. With no resonance, it's much less edgy, and with lots of resonance, it has this special filtery sort of sound. There are other types of filters, for example, high pass, low pass, and a notch filter, which actually removes a band of frequencies, sort of the opposite of the bandpass filter. And with the resonance all the way down, gives us this kind of phasing sort of sound. We can turn the filter off, or we can also use the filter in full resonance mode as a sine wave oscillator, then the volume control down here. Should give us a signal. And we need some resonance as well, I think. There we go. Yeah, we need resonance. We need the gain turned up. Now, interesting to note, the volume control is actually letting through, when it's actually acting as a filter, is letting through the rejected signal. So if we have a low pass filter with the frequency swept very far down, and we start to turn the volume up, ooh, very buggy potentiometer there. But you can hear that it starts to let the sound that the filter is supposed to be cutting out through. However, when it's in sine wave mode, then it controls the overall gain of the sine wave. Let's put this back to a bandpass filter, and let's figure out how to modulate it. Modulation comes in the same way for the quad filter as it did for the quad envelope shaper here. It comes in through the A and the B buses. So if we're listening to channel 4, then here we can switch so that channel 4 has external frequency control from the B bus. Let's see here. So this should give us, if it's the B bus is 2 and 4, There it is. Because the B bus has two oscillators on it, oscillator 2 and oscillator 4, the frequency is swept by the combination of both of those waveforms. If I turn down 1, there's just oscillator 4. And remember that we turn the wave shape all the way to the left to make it a low frequency oscillator. If that's not up down there, then we get a high frequency oscillator, which does something very different, of course. And here's the other one. The gain of the oscillator gives us the depth of the modulation. And if we add the two together, then we have a more complex wave form that's modulating the frequency of the oscillator. Delta frequency is a little harder for me to understand. I read in the book that it has to do with whether the frequency response of the filter goes in a positive or negative direction, but I would need to read a little bit more about the math behind it to understand exactly what it does. And of course, if you turn this to a sine wave oscillator, then the frequency of the sine wave oscillator will track to the waveforms that you have here. And if they're high frequency waveforms, you get these very complex frequency modulation FM sort of sounds. And of course you can modulate the filter frequency at audio rates as well. Let's hear the notch filter. Great. Just another note on the mixer. Earlier I said I wouldn't cover the other knobs, but if you are interested in using this as a sub-mixer, then these knobs down here tell you whether this channel gets panned to 3 or 4 on the output side down here on these channels as well. And there's a few other functions. Thanks for going through all these tutorials. I hope this inspires you a bit to make some noise with the Dataton. Thanks a lot.